going on, everybody? It's your big homie, the armchair operator, and welcome to today's video. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you enjoy today's content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Become a part of the family. We would love to have you. And if you're coming back to my channel, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I really do appreciate that. And I really hope that you also enjoy today's content. Today, we're going to put two of the more popular micro concealed carry options that are out there on the market today up against each other, head to head, to see which one comes out on top. We're going to put the Shield Plus Carry Comp from Smith & Wesson, this guy right here, up against the venerable Canik MC9 Prime, this guy right here. But before we get into all that, first, a couple housekeeping things. As always, this channel is not promoting or condoning the sale of any firearms. All of my videos are strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. Second bit of housekeeping, I got to give a big shout out to the team and the crew over at the Bunker Gun Shop. My guys Chris, Frank Bank, the entire Bunker 1 and Bunker 2 team, thank you so much for always supporting the channel. And third bit of housekeeping, actually, I got to give a huge shout out to my guy Joker 1016, who actually provided the Canik MC9 for this particular video. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into this versus video. So what is my versus? Well, if you're not familiar with my versus videos, they go a little something like this. The whole idea here is to put two near peer guns up against one another and see how they compare against one another in terms of forfeit, function, and the value for the dollar and price point. And the whole purpose of this is to help you, the consumer, make a more informed decision when you're out there purchasing your next firearm. At the end of the day, if I pick one particular firearm and you prefer the other one, you basically win. Like I said, the whole point is just to give you an idea of what to look for when you go shopping. And like I always suggest to everyone who asks me this question, I always suggest 100% try before you buy. If you can, find a gun shop with a range or a buddy or something where you can actually get your hands on one of these pistols, of course in a safe and controlled environment, and see how they work. At the end of the day, these tools, these items are very expensive, and you don't want to shell out several hundred or maybe even several $1,000s for something that you ultimately don't like. And remember, if you don't like the firearm, you're not going to train with it, you're not going to be proficient with it, and at the end of the day, it's not going to be of use to you at all. So with all of that stuff out of the way, let's head into this versus video proper. Now, to kick this versus video off, I figure we're just going to dive into the meat and potatoes of what most people really want to know. How do they handle on the range? All right, so with that being said, we're going to kick this off by focusing on both the shootability and the reliability portion of the versus on the gun range, and then we're going to come back here to the review space and dive into these two particular handguns in more detail. All right, so meet me over at the range. Welcome to the shootability portion of this video. Now we're going to put the MC9 up against that M&P Shield Carry Comp. I've shot both, just not at the same time. I'm more familiar with the Smith & Wesson versus the Canik, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see. Now, like I said before, the ergonomics of the MC9 is superior, in my opinion, to the Smith & Wesson. But will that translate into shooting performance? We shall see. Target is up at 7 yards. We got 2 magazines, and we're just going to see which one is comfortable and which one I could be the most accurate with. So that being said, let's get to work. First up, Shield Plus. Wow. Couple flyers for the most part, but pretty good.
Well, I mean, the 17 is bigger than that. That's a 9. So.
Not too bad at all. Let's check the target. So this is what we're working with overall. You know, pretty straightforward. Had a few flyers down there. A lot of that was to the grip. Micro 9s are really small. Remember, I got these big old meat hooks, so it's kind of hard for me to get on there. But the good thing about the Shield Plus Carry Comp, that comp tames a lot of that snap, and the new school M&Ps already have good triggers. But let's see what that MC9 Prime got to say about this. All right, now it's the MC9 Prime's turn. Now, just a real quick production note. I only ran 15 rounds through the M&P because I only had the 15 round mags with that thing. Of course, the MC9 Prime can take more. So just to keep things a little consistent across the board, I'm just running a total of 30 shots through the MC9 Prime. So we got the full 17 round mag loaded up, and I got 13 rounds in the 20 round mag that I have with it, just so you're aware. This is going to be interesting, y'all. Let me run that second mag through before I give my opinions. All right, let's check the target. So as y'all can see, this is what we're working with right here. Pretty tight, pretty consistent. A little tighter than the M&P. Just to show y'all, that's the Shield Plus over here. This is the MC9 over here. So the takeaway. It's easier for me to go a little faster with the MC9 Prime because of the trigger. It's very consistent, very short reset. I could easily run that faster than the M&P. M&P is no slouch. However, because it's so damn thin and the grip is so thin, because it's using those smaller magazines, it's harder for me to maintain the gun. So overall shootability, I got to give it to the MC9 Prime. All right, so let's continue this versus, let's head on back to the review space. Welcome to the review space. I hope that you enjoyed the shootability and reliability portion of the video. But just a quick recap, both pistols shot very well. I just felt as though that with the MC9 Prime, I could run this particular gun a little faster than the Shield Plus and still maintain the same amount of accuracy. Hence the reason why it has the point as far as shootability. As far as reliability, both firearms have been reliable, so they both get a point there. Now that we're here, we're going to dive into the feature set a little bit more. Now, the features is actually broken down into a few subcategories, but I'm going to try to blaze through this really quick for y'all because I don't want this video to take forever. So whenever I talk about the features, first we got to start with the sights. Now the sights for these two guns are very comparable for the most part. The Canik basically has night sights in the front. You got that HD night sight, and then you got the night sights, the dots in the rear. While for the Shield Plus, you have a night sight in the front and a blacked out U-notch rear sight here. Honestly, when it comes to sights, it's really going to come down to owner's preference, but in my opinion, just because you got the tritium in the back here, I'm just going to give the point for the sights over to the MC9 Prime. It just comes with a little bit, brings a little bit more to the table. From there, we're going to talk about these slide serrations, and both are equally aggressive, so they both work. So I'm going to tie them out for slide serrations. Oh, by the way, let's verify clear real quick. I'll do that. Magazine's clear, firearm is clear, and we are in a safe controlled environment. Okay, magazine's clear, chamber is clear, boom, firearm is clear. Sorry about that, y'all. Where was my head at? Y'all know I like to do that first. But anyway, from there, we're going to give it a tie for slide serrations. But again, that's going to be a personal choice. Moving on. Let's talk about the optic system. So both of these have the sheer RMS pattern footprint, and they have comparable optics. We have the Olight Osight SE on the Shield Plus carry comp, and we have the Holosun EPS Ronin green dot on the Shield Plus. Basically, these optics are direct mount to the slide, so these particular firearms both are optics cut and optics ready, so they get a tie there. Now we're going to go down to the barrel options. Both guns are ported. So here's the port for the Shield Plus. We got the single port right there. And here is the MC9 Prime, and we have the 3 smaller ports in the barrel. So honestly, they both reduce recoil pretty well. So I don't know, they pretty much get a tie there. I mean, they have ported barrels. Some might prefer the single port in the M&P, while some might prefer the 3 smaller ports in the Prime. I have seen people open up the ports of the Prime just to tame their recoil just a little bit more. But, you know, again, both guns have ported barrels, so they get a tie there. Moving on from there, we're going to go down to ambidextrous. So the Shield Plus really isn't ambidextrous at all. We just got the slide catch slide release on this side and a single side magazine release here. Whereas on the Prime, we have the slide catch slide release on both sides and a single sided magazine release. So it gets a point there for the ambidextrousness. No external safeties outside of the trigger dingus. All right, let's move on from there. Speaking of trigger, let's talk about the trigger. So both of these guns have very good triggers. The average trigger weight that I can get from the Shield Plus carry comp comes down to about 4 pounds, 48 ounces. Let me just show you what that trigger looks like really quick. Remember, safe direction. All right. So here we go. That's the wall. That's the brake. And here's the reset. Boom. Reset. And there you go. Now, as far as the MC9 Prime here, now y'all know Canik triggers are legendary. This we already know, and you can tell that this trigger is for the most part based on that of the Rival and the TTI Combat. Same basic look and feel to it. This trigger averages out to about 3 pounds, 1.4. Actually, no. Yeah, 3 pounds, 14.3 ounces. I'm sorry. That's what it comes out to as an average. Let's just go to trigger for y'all. Seems like it's a little bit more take up there, but you got the nice defined 90-degree brake. And the reset is shorter. So that's the difference between the triggers in these particular guns. This has a shorter reset than the M&P, but I think that this has a more defined wall in my opinion. Either way, MC9 Prime gets the trigger category. Moving on from there, magwells. This particular gun does not have a magwell. This gun has a magwell, which is removable by that screw right there. So the Canik gets that feature point. And let's see, light rail. And this is one of the big letdowns for the older Shields, Shield Pluses, and the carry comp. You don't have a true light rail, so that kind of sucks. There are lights that you can mount to this, and I think they attach to the front of the trigger guard, but there's no light rail at all. So that really lets this gun down, in my opinion. Whereas with the Prime, you got yourself a Picatinny rail. See, there you go. So it's a lot easier to mount a light to your MC9 Prime. So the MC9 Prime gets the point there for that. And last but certainly not least, the MC9 Prime has interchangeable back straps. So you get 3 in the box. This one, I believe, is the medium one, but you have 2 others. So you can change your thickness of your grip, your length of pull for the trigger to your liking, whereas with the Smith & Wesson, which you see is basically what you get. About the only thing you do have is that you can put a shorter magazine here to actually shorten the length of the grip. That's basically it, but for the feature point, that goes to the Canik MC9 Prime, basically giving the Canik MC9 Prime the overall point in the features category. So with that, let's move to ergonomics. Next, we're going to talk about ergonomics. Ergonomically speaking, I have to give the point to the MC9 Prime for two reasons. One, it fills out my hand a lot better than that of the Shield Plus. And two, the MC9 Prime just feels more like a more of a natural feeling handgun versus the Shield Plus. The Shield Plus is just really thin. While you can be very proficient with the Shield Plus, I think I'm pretty good with the Shield Plus, especially at self-defense ranges. Because it's so thin, it's hard to really run this particular gun fast, in my opinion, in relation to this. It's not to say that you can't run this pretty quickly and be effective with it. This just feels better in the hand, while also giving you more texture along the length of the grip, all the way up here at the top, and also on the memory pads right here where your thumb meets the grip. That's also very important, which is something a lot of firearms manufacturers omit for whatever damn reason, I don't know. Prime example here, this particular part is smooth on the Shield Plus. It's really smooth, so it's just a little less texture that'll make the gun move just a bit more in your hand. All in all, ergonomics goes to, oh, and one last thing, the magwell. That magwell gives you just a little bit of extra pinky support just to keep it up on the grip. So again, ergonomics goes to the MC9 Prime. Now let's move to ammo capacity. Now we're going to talk about ammo capacity. The Shield Plus carry comp actually comes with 3 magazines out of the box. It comes with a 15 rounder, a 13 rounder, and it also comes with a flush fit 10 rounder. I can't find the 10 round magazine. It's probably in the box somewhere, I don't know, but it does come with 3 magazines, whereas the MC9 Prime comes with 2 17 round magazines out of the box. I don't have the other 17 round magazine, but I have one of my 20 round Canik magazines just to kind of give you a visual representation of it. But out of the box, the Shield Plus carry comp actually wins the ammo capacity. Out of the box, I mean, 38 rounds versus 34 rounds. However, let me just say this real fast. The real good thing about the MC9 Prime is that it can accommodate full-size TP9 rival magazines, as you see right here. So you do have that. I just wanted to put that out there. It runs. I've showcased this in my review video, and you see you have lock back here. So you can use full-size Canik magazines in your MC9 Prime. I think that's really cool. But for the purposes of this versus video, the point for ammo capacity goes to the Shield Plus and the Shield Plus carry comp. And now with that, let's move on over to concealability. Now let's talk about concealability. So here's the thing. You can look at both of these two guns and see which one would print less. The Shield Plus carry comp is a much slimmer gun. I don't want to, well, much slimmer, but it's noticeably slimmer, as you can see right here. The slide thickness is comparable, but it's really in terms of the grip itself, and it just has an overall flatter profile than the MC9 Prime. The other advantage that the Shield Plus has, now remember when I showed you the 13 round magazine before? With this version of the Shield, you can actually shorten the grip by putting the shorter magazine in there. And if you want to go even shorter than that, they got a flush fit 10 rounder in there. So all in all, I think it's pretty straightforward. The Shield Plus carry comp gets the concealability point over the MC9 Prime. Now with that, let's talk about disassembly for maintenance. Disassembly for maintenance between these two handguns is very simple, very straightforward. It's slightly different in a sense. With the Shield Plus here, you have a takedown lever, so you just roll it back there and you just rotate it there. Let the slide go home, pull the trigger, slide it right off the frame, and then you're good to go. You can remove the recoil spring and barrel and do what you need to do to clean the pistol. Now, MC9 Prime is a little bit more Glockish. You would just have to pull this back by just a bit while pulling down on the takedown button. Squeeze the trigger, pull it up a little bit, and then lift it off the frame, and you're good to go. So, I mean, honestly, I don't see either one being more difficult than the other, so we're going to tie them out for disassembly for maintenance. Now, in terms of aftermarket support, it's going to be hard to beat Smith & Wesson in aftermarket support. Even with the Shield Plus, it's been out a lot longer than the Canik MC9 series. It's a lot easier to find holsters for this thing. Now, the thing of it is, I think the Canik is a bit more versatile, like, because you got different backstrap options and different magwell options, but that's really not so much what this particular part is about. I think what most people really care about when looking for the Shield Plus is like maybe trigger options, holster compatibility, things like that. Maybe even if they want to change the sights or whatever. It's a lot easier to find those things for an M&P or a Shield Plus. So the aftermarket support point is going to go to the Shield Plus carry comp. Now, in terms for the value for the dollar, listen, first, let me just say this. Both of these are excellent handguns. These are great options for concealed carry overall. Thing is, though, Canik gives you a lot, especially for the price point. And when it comes to the value, I mean, just with the feature set that this firearm has, combined with all of the accessories that you get, actual holster that you could use for EDC, to give you cleaning supplies and so on and so forth, or cleaning tools out of the box, I mean, it's hard to beat the value. You get in the magwell. You can use larger Canik magazines in this. I mean, it just speaks for itself. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the Shield Plus carry comp and the Shield Plus in general is a dope gun. You're getting a good amount of performance for the price point, but compared to the MC9 Prime, it's no contest in my opinion. So the MC9 Prime gets the point for the value for the money. That brings us to our last category, the MSRP. Now, these two firearms, it actually surprised me to know that they're very comparable as far as MSRP. The MSRP for the Shield Plus carry comp is somewhere around 649 credits. Whereas the MC9 Prime is somewhere in the neighborhood of 649.99 credits. So, I mean, listen, they're virtually almost the same. And who's to say it ain't 649.99 for the Shield Plus carry comp? I mean, listen, if you want to round up, you could argue that the M&P should get the point here by a 1 credit over the MC9 Prime, but I think that for the most part, they're basically the same. Of course, the price out in the wild is going to vary depending on where you find it and your geographical area, but I'm just going to call these two a tie. It's just really too close. I can see if it was like maybe $10 or 10 credits or 15 credits or 100 or whatever, or hell, even 5, but barely 1. I'm just going to call it even. What do y'all think about that? I'm sure a lot of people disagree. Sound off in the comments, but I'm just going to call that a tie for the MSRP. And now that we've gone through all the categories, let's do a quick recap and get our final score. Now to recap. For shootability, the point goes to the Canik MC9 Prime, while both the Shield Plus carry comp and the MC9 Prime gets points for reliability. For features, the point goes to the MC9 Prime. For ergonomics, the point again goes to the MC9 Prime. While for ammo capacity, the point goes to the Shield Plus carry comp, as well as the point for concealability. For disassembly, both guns each get a point. For the disassembly is relatively simple between both, while the point for aftermarket support goes to the Shield Plus carry comp. The value for the money point goes to the Canik MC9 Prime, while the point for the MSRP ever so slightly goes to the Shield Plus Carry Comp. So I decided to reconsider my decision on that. So the Shield Plus Carry Comp gets the point for that, which brings us to a grand total of 6 for the Shield Plus Carry Comp and 6 for the MC9 Prime, ending this versus in a draw. I have to say I'm a little bit surprised by this, mainly because when I was running the MC9 Prime, just based on the ergonomics and the shooting performance, I thought it was going to just be a slaughterhouse versus the Smith & Wesson here. But the Smith & Wesson here basically held its own, in my opinion, versus the, I would say, the favorite in this particular comparison, the MC9 Prime. Now, really where the Shield Plus Carry Comp and other Shield Plus models excel at, in my opinion, the slim profile makes this a little bit easier to conceal. And you can also, with some of the models, with the flush fit magazines and the shorter magazines, make the grips also easier to conceal. And if anybody has done any sort of concealed carry for any length of time, you know that this particular part of the firearm is often the part that prints the most. So being able to shorten this is very beneficial over, say, something like the Canik MC9 Prime here. Now, make no mistake, the MC9 Prime is a phenomenal handgun. And as far as a gun that I would prefer to shoot, it would definitely be this, because it's just more ergonomic. And like I said, in the shootability portion, it's easier to run this faster than this. Even though they have good triggers, the reset on this is, whoo, it's like that. Believe me, if you haven't shot the MC9 Prime, I would encourage you to see if you can rent one at your local range or try a friend's safe control environment, of course, and just see what the MC9 is hitting for. It's not as, honestly, it's not as snappy as a lot of other polymer Caniks. Polymer frame Caniks tend to be snappy, in my opinion, but this is pretty decent. Now we're going to come to the part where we will come to armchair's choice. So all things being equal, if I had to pick one and one of these alone, which one would I pick? To be perfectly honest, it's hard to make a decision on that, because when you're talking about a firearm in the micro 9 category such as these, concealment is usually the main factor in that. Because if you wanted a gun that was basically more shootable, you would just get a bigger gun, right? I can go and get my M&P metal carry comp and run that all day long and still conceal it. You know, it would, I think it would outshoot both of these. It would definitely feel more comfortable in the hand, right? But it's kind of hard, because this would be a bit more harder to conceal, and usually in the summertime is when I'm rocking something like this, so it's a little tough. But I have to say the MC9 Prime was just more enjoyable, and it's not hard to conceal at all. So if I had to pick, I would go with the MC9 Prime in this one. But with that, I'm going to end the video here. What's your experience with the M&P Shield Plus Carry Comp or the Canik MC9 Prime? Let me know down in the comments section, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's get this discussion popping. And what do y'all think about the results of today's video? Are you team M&P Shield Plus, or are you team Canik MC9 Prime? Let me know, y'all. Let's talk about it. All right, y'all. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is your big homie, the Armchair Operator. I'm signing out, man. Peace.